Hey, welcome to Pro Mindset Podcast. This is your host, Craig Doman. I've got a guest today by way of Colorado Springs. He's an artist making his way in Nashville on the national scene in the music business. Victor Williams. Victor, welcome to Pro Mindset today.
Thank you so much, Mr. Craig. How are you?
Good, brother.
Thanks
All
for
right, my
having me,
man.
man.
So we have all different types of people on this podcast.
Yep.
I don't think I've had a musician yet. I don't think I've had somebody that's been out there, pounding the pavement, learning the ropes, getting beat up a little bit. It's kind of like playing in the NFL.
Sure.
You're going to get tackled a few times, going to get knocked out a few times. So
Yeah.
give people like an overview of your journey. You're the same age as my son, Jojo, went to Pine Creek High School. And then you ventured out to this journey of being a musician, wanting to be an artist, writer, all those things. So take it away and share with the audience what you want them to know.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's been a grind. I think that, geez, we could take the whole time up talking about it. So I'll try to keep it short, man. But I think the biggest thing is that it's been a journey and there's been a lot of trials and tribulations. There's been a lot of different times where you have to pivot, adjust, and maybe ride this out, ride that out. So it's been zigzag, if that makes sense. It's not a straight shot. And I think very rarely people do have a straight shot. If they do, good on you. But if you had a straight shot, then zigzags are coming. So, for me, it's been a zigzag way to the top, and I'm not even at the top yet, but, just on my journey. And so I think you learn more about yourself and more about the world and more about your surroundings more than anything else. I think that's the biggest key you take away from it. But yeah, man, it's been a grind.
Okay, so when I talk about artist is a very broad term.
Sure.
Share with everybody what type of artist you are.
Good question. I think an artist who just, enjoys to freely create based off of feeling. I'm very much a feeling person, like feel the feelings, the energy, the vibes in the room. I think a lot of the time when I'm creating, I'm going based off of a feeling. Half the time I'm not even writing the lyrics. I'm just freestyling them or just kind of going, just what feels right. So I think for me, I'm definitely an artist that kind of just does it on the fly. You know what I mean? And kind of just goes based off feeling. And that doesn't mean I don't write. I mean, I still write all the time, but I think I enjoy doing things in the moment when I create.
Okay, so you're a creator that taps into your feelings, but you're also a performer.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so what's the difference between being on stage and being out in nature or wherever you might be writing or feeling or creating?
I think, in my personal opinion, when you're creating, in the studio, for example, you have time to sit with that feeling. I think you have time to analyze that feeling. You have time to kind of dive in on that feeling. When you're on stage, it's an instant energy, and you have two choices. You're either going to ride the energy in the room or you're going to control the energy in the room. Because sometimes you're going to walk out on stage. Like I just had this recently. I was on tour with Charlie on a Friday, and shout out Charlie. And he, I was his opener, and there were certain cities where I would go out and I could see in the crowd, okay, half these people don't know who I am, and they're not moving, and they're not singing the words. The other half are singing the words. They know who I am. They're moving around, whatever. But what's interesting is that you have a choice. I could either focus on the people who aren't moving, or I could focus on those who are. And I learned that, when you're on stage in that moment, you kind of have to make that decision. And the times where I made the decision to try to get the people who weren't moving to move, to me, that wasn't the right choice. Still weren't moving. And then that hurts my performance. And then that hurts my confidence. And then the people who are moving and singing along are kind of like, where's his energy? So I think on stage, as far as, the difference is that I think you kind of, like I said, you have two choices in that regard.
Okay, so let me give you a perspective from the pro mindset.
Sure.
If I'm up on stage and I have a choice between tapping in and channeling and connecting to the people that are grooving with me, connecting with my message, connecting with my music from you, or I have the choice of trying to convert people. One is resistance and one is flow. So if you connect with the people that are already connected to you and make that more expansive, it's going to be contagious. And you're going to, one by one, you're going to add more people in the audience to the right one, to the flow, right?
Yeah.
And you don't have any resistance.
Yeah.
So the goal is you got to find one. You just got to find one. Might be your girlfriend, might be your manager. It doesn't matter. You just got to find one.
Yeah.
And you don't focus on, because like when you're speaking and you're doing different things, you don't look at the person that's preoccupied with their phone.
Right.
Attention. You talk to the people that are paying attention. Makes sense?
I like that. No, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the goal would be, in a perfect world, to get everybody in the audience on board, before the first song. But in reality, the other part of it, Victor, is if you're keeping track in your head about who's paying attention, who's liking what you're singing, they're liking what you're putting down, compared to just putting it down, you're going to be a better performer if you're not thinking about them.
No, it's so true. I mean, it's that's so true that you said that. And I think for me on the tour, I just wasn't able to shake it. Next time around, I think I'll be great, but I wasn't able to shake that. I was trying to get everyone involved, but that's so good. That's such good advice, because it's true. And I've heard that too. Even Charlie, when I was talking about it, he said the same thing. I mean, because he tours, 200 days out of the year, something crazy like that. Right. And he said the same thing you said. It's just, you have to go out there and be in your own world, and they're either going to feed off of it or they're not, but you can't let them dictate your energy up there. So that's great. I really do like that.
Well, you have a copy of my book, and maybe you'll get to chapter 9 that talks about creating a performance bubble. And it's not just for athletes. It's for everybody. It's for artists. It's for performers. It's for CEOs. It's for moms. It's for everybody. And in that performance bubble, when you step on stage, you created it before you step on stage. And it's all the purpose that you had for doing that night. All the blood, sweat, and tears you did to get to that point. It's your belief in yourself. It's your confidence in your songs and in your music. All that positive stuff. And it's not like what somebody told you back home, said, hey man, you really think you're going to do that? You think you're going to move to Nashville and really make something of yourself? All you're going to do is be a bartender, bro. You're just going to be like serving tables for the rest of your life. That stuff doesn't get to come in. And that's how Charlie's talking about, you just be in your own bubble, you be in your own zone. It's you create a performance bubble that you visualize before you perform. So when you go perform, it's just, you just step in.
Yeah. 100%.
And then when you have things that pattern interrupts, or, something goes on in the audience, or something technical malfunction on stage, you're prepared for that. Because when you created your bubble, you took into consideration that it's not going to go perfect.
Right.
So you were able to just keep on flowing when that imperfection showed up, or you make a joke.
Right. No. Yeah. I had to do that a couple of times. Yeah.
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 So
that's so true.
What's the adrenaline high like when you're performing on stage?
Boy, it's a lot, man. I mean, it is a lot, because it's like, it's the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows. You get on stage and it's highs of highs. I threw in a cover song in my set list last night by Morgan Wallen, which everybody knows, one of the biggest songs to ever be put out in the world of our generation. I mean, dude, to just hear, 500, 600 some people blaring, like singing their hearts out of that. And you're just, kind of up there and hearing it all and singing it with them. And then to step off stage and then come down from that. Well, first you don't come down. I like to go see the fans. And then I had to learn that though, too, because that's interesting. You bring that up. I had to learn, like, it's super important to me to meet my fans and say hello to them and take pictures, sign autographs, whatever. But I had to learn that I need to take like 2-3 minutes before I do that, because the first few shows I'd get right off stage and then go see the fan. And it was too much for my mental health. Like, that was just too much. all right, this is too buzzing, right? Because, you got a line of people that, want to see you, and I don't want to tell them no, but I'm also kind of trying to decompress and understand what I just did on stage. So I learned after the first couple of shows, okay, I need to take like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and then I'm going to go out, need to recenter, heart center myself, meditate a little bit, and then go. And then the lows are before you go on, at least for me. I'm like crazy stage fright. And so, which is weird because I love performing in front of people, but I do. I think it just comes down to wanting to be the best that I can be. But yeah, I mean, the lows, you're just rethinking everything, so it's very fight or flight. Tour in general, Craig, is very fight or flight. You're very in the moment. I mean, dude, 3 hours of sleep. I'm in Brooklyn tonight. I wake up in Boston tomorrow. I'm flying to Minneapolis the day after that, so it's crazy.
Let's go back to stage fright. Where's that from? What's the root cause of that? When's the first time you realized you had stage fright?
I think this tour, because I didn't used to, because I didn't, don't get me wrong. I mean, you always get butterflies. I don't think there's anything wrong with butterflies. I think that's actually a good thing, because you can turn butterflies into really good energy. It's when it's hit the point of anxiety. And what I mean by anxiety, because I feel like that word gets used very loosely. But what I mean by anxiety is like extreme anxiety. You know what I'm saying? And so I can't sit there and tell you that prior to this tour that was ever an issue for performing.
Okay, let's start.
Yeah.
First performance on this tour.
Oh my gosh.
And
dude.
It was you had new expectations, right? You have a company, somebody you're working with in LA, you've got a lot of things going on, and you knew their eyes were, they were watching. They were wide open, checking you out. Who's this Victor Williams going to be? Is he going to be able to step up to the, can he play in the Super Bowl? Can he perform on the bigger stage?
Right.
Is that when it started?
I'm sure that somewhere in the subconscious, I'm sure that was probably something pretty relevant to the reason why. I think, for me, it was more so, I'll put it to you, this is what I've been able to piece together. And I don't know if this is right. It feels like this is right, but, and we talked about this off camera, and, we're more than happy to talk about it on, but I think I signed this, three some years ago, I signed this bad contract, right? And this contract put me in a mess. I wasn't able to release music. I wasn't able to do all this thing. It was really, really tough. It felt like music got taken away from me, right? Even though a lot of positive came from it, in the moment, it felt like music got taken away from me. I was in a vulnerable place. I was taken advantage of, right? It got really bad. It was a really, really messy situation that affected everyone around me, and I'm sure everyone around that individual, because it was a dogfight. And so after that, I think everything became real. It wasn't a dream anymore. I'm in my mom's basement, like Vwillz, see if you make, no, like I did it. I'm here. I've arrived. I'm in the music business now. I'm around these people. I now have a chance. I'm doing this now. And so it wasn't a matter of a dream anymore. It was reality. And I think it got taken away from me the second I got it. And that was really scary to me. And so as, time went on and figured it out through the legal system, and I'm stepping my foot into this, then you deal with the fact that, okay, this is not what I thought it was going to be, right? Which we could talk about that later. That's a whole nother deep conversation. You have all these things happening, and then you start to think, okay, well, what if I didn't have this? And that's a scary thought. And I think, so going back to your point, I think that's where that stage fright has come from. That if I don't go up there and captivate and I lose all of them, then I lose. I don't have it anymore. Right? Because ultimately the people do decide. At the end of the day, label or not, independent, we live in different times now. The people decide. You could live in, are we allowed to curse on this or no, Mr. Craig?
It doesn't
I won't curse.
You be you.
Okay. You could live in bum bleep Montana and post TikTok, be a multi-million, and it's not that easy, but seriously, that's the type of times we live in, to where now it is up to the people So I think that was the pressure I felt. They felt, well, if I go up there and I suck, power of the people, man. So to make a long story, a short story long.
Here's what I heard. I heard two things, and maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. What I heard you say was you like failed on a massive level when that bad contract was revealed to you, and they didn't let you out of it, and you had to go through legal recourse. And all of a sudden, like it's like in life, you said at the beginning, it's like a zigzag. It's not a linear journey. That was your first big zag. You were zigging.
Yeah.
And now we got a zag. And now you start thinking, well, shoot, man, maybe I'm not going to accomplish what I thought I was going to accomplish. Maybe I'm not as good, or maybe people don't like me as much, or maybe whatever it is. Oh, shoot, man. Got to love that, man.
No, it's okay. You can grab that.
No, I'm not going to grab it. I was supposed to turn my phone off.
You're good.
I'm good, man. This is live. This is good stuff. Okay. So number one is dealing with, it's almost like a dude that gets to the Super Bowl and he throws a quarterback and he throws 3 picks and they lose.
Right.
Let's
Right.
respond to that. Is it over? He's 23 years old, 24 years old. He's a young player in his second or third year in the league, and he's got a bright future, maybe 15 more years in front of him. He might get a chance to go back to 3 or 4 more Super Bowls if he responds the right way.
To think, Mr. Craig, can I just touch on that point? Because I love sports and I think they correlate. Okay. You're right, but that quarterback has to have something within him. His why has to matter. Because here's the thing, and I'm not throwing any shade or disrespect at any professional athlete when I say this, because I have no idea what it's like to be a professional athlete, but I am going to use names. Why did Cam Newton not go back to the Super Bowl? Again, I'm not saying this is who he is. I'm just saying, did he not have that thing that Tom Brady had? Right? And no, it's crazy. Cam Newton, Tom Brady, right? Crazy comparison. Let's just say everybody's talented. Cam Newton, in his rookie or sophomore year, went to the Super Bowl. So his trajectory was very high. But Tom Brady's why kept bringing him back. So if Tom Brady threw 6 picks in the Super Bowl, or had a game like the Falcons one, say they ended up losing that, even though they miraculously came back, Tom Brady would have still went on that offseason and worked his ass off, just like he did the year before, because his why is so ingrained in him, right? But Cam, and again, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody when I say this. I'm just posing the question here. I don't know Cam personally. But was Cam's why not? So it goes back to music, right? Of these setbacks, what is my why? Because if I throw 6 picks in the Super Bowl, I might say I'm going to fucking get back to that Super Bowl. My why is so important, right? So anyway, I just wanted to touch on you saying that.
No, I'm going to keep that going, because Cam Newton went 15-1. They went to the Super Bowl in New York, and they played the Broncos.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken. And Von Miller and the other DN were just hammering him, Cam Newton, in the first. Even though, wasn't that the Bronco game where the first snap of the game for the Broncos, they snapped it over Peyton Manning's head?
I'll take your word for it. It's been a while, but yes.
So they did. So what did Peyton Manning do? Didn't go, we're going to lose. No, they came back and won. But here's what happened to Cam Newton. He quit in the middle of the Super Bowl, in the middle of the first half. He got so scared of the DNs and the pass rush. He didn't care about winning anymore. He cared about coming out of the game with all his body parts intact. I saw it unfold right in front of me. And I don't know Cam either. And I've never talked to him, but I saw it, and you see it. So I want to tell you it's the why, but there's an and in there. And the and is a person's identity. So, for example, when Peyton Manning threw 3 interceptions against the Falcons on Monday Night Football one year for the Broncos, that's not who he is. It's what he did. He separated his identity from his skills. Cam Newton didn't. You as a performer have to separate your worthiness and the man you've become and the man you will become from what you do. And there's going to be days where you're going to go out and do awesome. and it's not going to
Mm,
resonate with the fans.
that's
That,
a
that's not your
that's a
problem.
bar,
That's a bar because it's not your
Mr.
problem.
Craig. That's a mic drop. That is a mic drop right
Yeah,
there.
so here's
That's
my
pretty good, man. Damn. Separate. Can you say that one more time?
yes.
Separate.
Your identity is who you are, not what you do. So
Mm,
you as an artist and a performer and a singer and an entertainer is what you do. It's not who you are. Even though because you go out and give autographs and take pics and everything with your fans afterwards and everything you're doing right now in your life, because you're traveling and performing and the people that you're meeting is about what you do, not who you are, but you get them all confused.
it's interesting. Can I touch on one thing on that?
Sure.
What makes that so interesting, and that's an incredible, I love that, by the way. There was really a moment there for me. The part that makes it a little difficult, though, is when you start making a living off of it. And this is what, pays my rent, puts food on the table, allows me to do the things that I enjoy doing, allows me to go golf, do, things that I like doing in my personal life. You hit a weird crossroads. Because if my art from my soul is not performing, then it's not bringing in the financial stability that I need to survive. So then you have to mentally go through, again, the personal, like we were talking about, the personal separate, then you have to say, well, is the art not good enough? Which I've outgrown this thought process, but there was a time where that was a big thing. Well, was the art not good enough? You know what I'm saying? So I will say for a lot of artists or anybody who's, I think in any entrepreneurial spot in their life or athlete or anything, someone might say from an athlete standpoint, it's like, oh, well, I only got to play 5 minutes in the game, is my body not good? Is my talent not good enough? You know what I mean?
I get that. You're at the mercy of the fans embracing your songs.
Yes, very much so.
And if they don't embrace your songs, they don't buy your music, you really don't have a place in that industry.
100%.
Okay. So there's three things we have to make sure that we separate: who you are from what you do, and who you are from how people respond to you, and who you are also from the outcome and the expectations of this tour, show by show. So if you take on as a part of your identity every show and how it goes, by the time you get to the 10th site on tour, you're going to feel like you're carrying an elephant on your back. Because it's like, holy shit, hopefully tonight these people show up and show out and buy my music and put on a show and love me.
Sure.
Okay. So if you can stipulate to the fact that if you separate who you are from what you do, who you are from how they respond, and who you are from the money that you get from how they respond, and you fully embody your talent and your purpose and your energy and your songs, and you go out and show out because you're loving it. People are going to love you if you love it. But if you're wondering if they love it, they're wondering if they love it too. It's almost like meeting a girl or meeting a buddy, and it's like he's not sure who he is. Well, you don't know who he is.
Right. No, very true. It's very true.
But when they know who they are and they're comfortable in their own skin, you love people more.
100%.
So more people are going to love your music and love you if you love you.
100%. 100%.
So if you love you, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I mean, don't get me wrong, you're paying attention, you're observing.
No, sure. I hear you.
But it's not the focus.
No, yeah, I think, you're 100% right. I think with me in particular, and I don't know, and I know for a fact not every artist is like this, and I'm sure there are some. I played sports growing up. I wasn't very good. I sat the bench. I didn't really play much at all. In fact, I think when you were coaching that Broncos team, I was on the Bills team. You guys beat our ass, man, and I was.
And that was a stacked team.
You guys were insane, man. Anyway, yeah, I played freshman football and think it was like fourth string wide receivers. Anyway, man, I wasn't, I think I could look the part out, if we were at a tailgate, that kid could throw a football or catch a football. But I don't think I had that tenacity of an athlete or the drive or want to be necessarily the best. I think the imagery of being it was cooler, right? Like playing the part. In fact, it'd be funny. Travis and JoJo would be getting taped up, and here I come, fourth string wide receiver. I had a class early to get taped up because it looked cool. You know what I mean? I wore a visor as a fourth string. I mean, come on, man. The look was incredible. But I bring all that up to say, it doesn't change the fact that it embedded a very competitive spirit in me from a young age. And so that plays a role into everything we're talking about just musically. It doesn't change the fact that, I don't show it though. I don't show how competitive I am deep down, but I'm very, very competitive deep down. And it's not against other people because music's objective. How are you going to be competitive against another artist, in my opinion? It's objective and it's political. People are like, oh, well, don't you think like people are fighting for the number one spot? No, labels by the time you're at number 3 or 4 on the Billboard chart, your label's going to buy the number one spot. That's just how it works. But, and that's, don't get me wrong. There's small chances where that doesn't happen, but oftentimes that's how it works. If you're within that top 3, 4, 5, that number one spot could be purchased. The point is that I'm more competitive against myself.
Okay, so I want to go back to kind of wrapping a bow on this and saying that some of the things you learned in sports also apply to being on stage. And
Sure.
with sports, you guys might have thought that you were, the Bills were playing the Broncos, but really the Bills were trying to be the best they could. And if on that day good enough, they would beat the Broncos. If it wasn't good enough, it didn't matter, but they still wanted to do their best. So when you go perform like you do, the objective is to be you, be all of you, and be the best you can be.
Sure.
You have good days and bad days. You have days when you're feeling it and days you're not. Can you go up on stage and fake it on the days you're not so that the audience gets what they paid for?
Do you truly believe, sorry, Mr. Doman, sorry, this is just a great topic. I don't mean to cut you off. But do you truly believe that alluding to your metaphor, that if the Bills, the team I was on compared to the team you coached on the perfect day could have beat your team?
Absolutely, because we could beat ourselves.
Mm.
We had talent, but we could beat ourselves. And so what I tell athletes all the time, the objective is not to win. The objective is to play your best. And if it's good enough, you'll win. Because that's all. So think about this concept. There's really 4 places or 2 places you can end up. It's 4 squares. You play your best and you win. That's affirmed. You play your best, but you don't win. You don't have to worry about it. All you can do is your best. That's all you got.
Sure.
So if you find yourself in that dynamic, the goal is to improve your skills.
Right.
Right? Because you did your best. So let's improve our skills so we can up level. But where it sucks is when you don't play your best and you don't win, and you could have won if you would have.
Mm.
And then if you don't play your best and still win, which is what we did sometimes, you create bad habits. You think you get arrogant, you get lazy, you stop focusing on the fundamentals. So there's only one place you want to be. And that is to play your best, perform your best in your case, and let the outcome happen however it's going to happen.
Mm.
So like when you perform tonight,
I don't have a performance. No, so I'm off. I'm off of tour. I'll go back on tour next year, I believe. We're going back on tour.
Okay.
February. I'm not sure yet though.
Okay, your next performance, whenever that may be. The objective is clearly just to be your best. And when you focus on that, you shouldn't have pre-performance anxiety. Because who's in control of you performing your best?
Me.
Nobody else.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody, not the manager, not the drummer, not anybody else.
Right.
No one. The acoustics, the look, It doesn't matter. Go jam out and do your thing.
Right.
And so when you're performing, when you go do your best will continue to get better because you start exercising that muscle of just getting better and just being a baller. And
Sure.
you're not worried about stuff you can't control.
Yeah. That's good. That's great. I love that. Or I don't know if you, I wanted to ask you something, but if you had something else, I'll let you go first.
No, you go.
So you know what's interesting is I was playing Xbox the other night with someone, and they had said something that was very, very interesting to me that I think I kind of related to in the music sense, but the athlete sense. And this gentleman had told me that when you are an athlete your whole life, and then it doesn't work or something happens and that gets taken away from you, or maybe it just didn't pan out, you've dedicated your whole entire life to your physicality and being able to play at this high, high, high level with the best of the best. And so it's the same thing in the music world, is that like that thought goes through your head, but here's where it was different for me. And I think, circumstances can get in the way of everything, but for me musically, it was never an option to not do it. And it's different in sports because it can be, it's different. I mean, that can be taken away from you at any point in time. You could be the best athlete in the world. Or let's look at Tua, for example. A guy might not ever play football, and sad, incredible quarterback. And so it's just interesting. My question to you is, and I know I've kind of went down a bazillion rabbit holes there to try to get to this, and maybe you cut this up to make it flow a little bit better. But the question is like, how do you mentally prepare for that as an athlete? Or do you not even think about that?
Well, let's think about the concept of giving everything you got to whatever your dream is. That's when you're really living. It's when you go 90% and hedging your bets and you're working another side hustle just in case, where it's
100%.
the 10-toe in thing. You put 10 toes down, do you jump in head first, or you dip a couple toes in the water to see if it's cold or not? No, the way you go, and I don't care if you're 15, 30, 50, or 70, I don't care how old you are. I don't care what dream you have. You got to go all in.
Right.
When you go all in, you're really living. And then if it doesn't work out, like for a lot of athletes, I mean, the 1% of the 1% make it to the pros. It's like, that's 99.9% do not make it. They
100%.
get injured. They're not good enough. They get slighted by a coach. They get slighted by a school. All these things happen. But then they can take that same passion and transfer it into something else. But all the work ethic, all the preparation and practice, the visualization, all their standards, their work ethic, all those things that help them climb the ladder in their dream. Why can't they do that in their second dream 2.0? So if your music doesn't work out, let's say you have the attitude, you got no other option. Guys that have that attitude always make it. They always make it. Got
Yeah.
no other option.
Yeah.
In the NFL, when the scouts are interviewing the prospects at the combine, they want to know what plan B is, because plan B always becomes plan A. So if they got a plan B and they're similar to another guy that doesn't have a plan B, they're going to draft the guy that's only got the plan A.
100%.
Right? So I think there's a reason why guys that play in the NFL and pro sports in general take 3 to 5 years after their careers are over. I'm not talking about the guy that played for 2 weeks. I'm talking about the guy that played for 5 or 10 years. It takes them 3 to 5 years to make the adjustment to something else because of what we talked about being on stage. What they do becomes who they are. And to break that apart, it takes time.
The fact you said that is so incredible, because a very successful songwriter friend of mine had said to me, "You are not music. If you identify yourself as music, like, hi, my name is Victor Vwillz, I am music. No, you're not. Because if you identify yourself as that, my goodness, you are going to live a very broken, hard life. Because you will take every single thing that happens within music. It's so personal and it'll break you. So it's just interesting you say that. That's so true. You have to separate. I am Victor, who goes by Vwillz, who enjoys to make music, but I am not music.
Amen. You need to have that on your mirror in your bathroom. You need to
Yep.
have that on your phone, because you are important without music. You're valuable without music. You have talents that can make you a nice living without music. You've just chosen music. So because you've chosen it, go with it. And don't look back, and give it everything you got. See what happens. You might be that guy that's 1 in 100.
Sure.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
And when you get told by a label, hey, we don't want you, or you think the song, you create an album and the song that you think is going to be the hit, nobody likes. Doesn't matter. It's the song that you didn't think anybody would like, they love. So it's like, you don't try to control it. Just create it. Put it out in the universe, perform it, and let it be what it's going to be.
It's so true. Yeah. I mean, even Joe said to me too, when we had reconnected out in Nashville, he said, we're vessels. It's going to flow through you. You have to be the vessel. And so, it's interesting you say that, because that's so true. We are really just vessels,
What is the thing that you've learned about performance mindset, building an artist's career, musician's career, from some of the people that are twice your age, that have been doing this for a long time? I'm sure you've run into a few of those kind of people.
Yes.
And what is their points?
My favorite, one of my biggest mentors, shout out Ben Johnson. He's a songwriter out here in Nashville. He's had a very successful career thus far. I mean, probably will continue to have an unbelievable career just based on his mind, not just his talent, but his mindset. And what I have picked up and learned from him, my goodness, I mean, it's just life stuff. I mean, it goes beyond music. My favorite thing about him is he's just so human. Everything's human. Here's a good example. This was last year. He said, hey man, I'm going to this award show. Do you want to come? I have an extra ticket. Do you want to come with? Nonchalant. Didn't make it seem like anything at all. Just, hey, this award thing. Do you want to come? Oh, okay, cool. So I'm like, all right, yeah, I'll go. Whatever. Not knowing what kind of award show, because there's lots of different award shows within the music business. It's the Nashville Songwriting Awards. I show up. He was nominated for it, which again, didn't even know that. He didn't mention that to me. I show up and we're sitting, Tim McGraw's right there. Blake Shelton's right here. Garth Brooks is right here. And I'm sitting there holy these are some of the biggest country stars of all time are right here in this vicinity. And he didn't make it. He didn't text me, hey, Garth Brooks, it's going to be, you got to be this. No, he just was like, hey man, it's an award show. And so what I picked up from him, and it doesn't mean that he doesn't care. I think what I picked up from him in that was, everybody's human. Everybody's a human being, and they have, they go through things just like you go through things, and that really stuck with me when I perceived it that way. He just is so down to earth. It's very easy to get caught up in this business. Very, very easy. The glitz and the glamour, and some of the sessions and people that I've, had the luxury of being able to meet. I mean, geez, me 3 years ago wouldn't believe it. I'd be like, no way. But then you find out that no, just everybody's human, man. I think it's important not to get caught up. So if there's anything I've learned from it, is don't get caught up in things. Continue to keep your head down, work hard, and treat everybody like human beings. And I appreciate that from him. Just down to earth guy. That's one of the best advice I've ever got.
Okay, Vwillz, how did you feel when you were sitting amongst those stars at that awards dinner? And did you, over the night, course of the evening, start settling into, hey, I feel comfortable? Or did you start out being comfortable?
Yes. So This is, man, I'm a humble guy, so it's hard for me to, but I'm just going to flat out tell you how I felt. And this happens often when I'm in situations like that. I'm not surprised. It's weird. Like leading up to it, like if I'd have known, I probably would have been, or leading up to certain things, I get kind of, but then when I get there, when I'm there, I don't feel shocked. I feel, and this is just how I feel. I feel like, yeah, I deserve to be here. Even though I wasn't nobody knew who the hell I was. I wasn't nominated for anything. I still felt like I deserved to be there. I just felt that. I just felt like I'm not shocked.
Did it at any time during the awards banquet, did you ever have a snapshot or visualization of you being on
Yeah.
receiving an award?
I felt it. I felt it. I felt my feet walking up the stairs to accept it. I mean, that whole time, that's what I was doing. Anytime I go to Red Rocks, which is my dream to sell out, I boldly feel, here's what, I know that I sell out Red Rocks in my lifetime. There's not a doubt in my mind that it happened because I have felt the crowd. I have heard the people. I've visualized it that deeply. And it's crazy because it's like people oftentimes maybe will judge that or whatever, like, oh, that sounds like kind of crazy. It's like, no, it's real manifestation. If you really just sit and really just be in your thoughts, man, you can feel it. You can feel everything I've done has been by the glory of God and in manifestation.
I'd venture to say it won't happen unless you do. And it happens,
100%.
right? And it's like, if you don't think you deserve it, if you don't think you're good enough, if you can't visualize yourself doing what you did, it can't happen. For guys that go to the NFL, they don't see themselves playing in the NFL. I promise you, they'll never play in the NFL. I
Yeah.
don't know how high they can jump and how fast they can run. You have to see yourself doing it before you ever do. And so for those listeners out there, here we have an artist who, by comparison is a no-name, going to an awards banquet, sitting with these people and seeing himself on there, and you're going to see him up there someday. And Ben was introducing you to that by inviting you. He was giving you the opportunity to occupy that space, mind space. And
100%.
you got the choice to take advantage of it or not.
Well, and that's the thing, man, that's not the first time he's done something, like I said, he's a mentor in my life and has been a blessing and has exposed me to so much. And again, has done it in such a humble way. Like I said, he doesn't do it in this braggadocio, braggadocious way of like, look, it never is like that. Very just down to earth, like, hey, I'm doing this. You want to come? Hey, this is going on. Swing by. And it's inviting and it's refreshing and I don't know. I think, and not to go on a rabbit hole, but there's something that I want to touch on. There's something really cool about that. When you're that humble, first of all, he doesn't have to be humble. And I don't want to spend the whole segment talking about it. He doesn't have to be, and anybody can go look up his accolades. He doesn't have to be that humble, but he is. And I think that's just such a testament of his character. And just to live your life like that, like I said, not to keep harping on this, but it's like that has been huge for me. Just don't get caught. You don't get caught up. You're thankful. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that he doesn't think it's a big, again, I'm not him, but I'm just saying like, he doesn't get caught up. And the other thing, this is the last thing I will say about him that I love, and I don't want to put him too much on blast here, but so I rent a studio out. He has a studio house out here, and there's different studios within this place, and I rent out one of the rooms. What's crazy is, I would say I'm probably at the bottom of the totem pole at this studio, based on the people who are there. If you want to look at it on paper and accolades and stuff like that, I'm definitely at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to that there. And I'd argue even on the talent scale too, the very, very talented individuals there. So what's interesting though, Mr. Craig, is I will go at 11 a.m. and I will be there maybe till 10:30 at night. You know who else is there from 11 to 10:30 at night? Ben. That to me is incredible. he still works as if he hasn't done anything yet. And that just shows what type of person he
That's
is.
Tom Brady.
I'm telling you, he is. He's Tom Brady, bro.
Yeah. No, I remember seeing Tom Brady play live probably 15 times. And one time I got to the game about an hour and a half early when the players came out to do their warm-ups, and I just watched Tom Brady the whole time. He played the game before the game. He did the drops with game intensity, game speed, threw to his receivers top of the routes like he did in the game. And it's like, you don't play in the NFL until you're 45 unless you have that kind of drive. And so Ben obviously has that kind of drive.
Big time.
Right?
You know, what's funny is we both said we want to get a framed picture of Tom Brady's draft day picture in our studios. I love it. I love Tom Brady's story, man. I relate to that so much, man. You can't hate that story. 99 pick to be the best. I'm sorry, but I don't think there's ever going to be another quarterback in our generation. My personal opinion, I'm biased, that's going to be as good as Tom Brady. Maybe Patrick Mahomes, but I don't know, man. Tom Brady was something else.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet against Patrick at the moment, but Tom Brady was head and shoulders above everybody. I mean, I think through longevity and championships, he distinguished himself even from Peyton. Tom was by far the GOAT. So,
real quick on the mindset thing, real quick. When you saw him warming up, you know how when you walk in a room, you can feel energy? What was the energy you could feel from him? Or did you automatically, when you got near him, was there just this energy?
here's what I would say is that he had purposeful practice that was different than everybody else on the field. And so what most guys do in pregame is they go through the motions. They're jamming out on music and they're thinking about where they're going to go to dinner that night, who they're going to hang with, what club they're going to go to. They're in post game. Tom Brady is actually playing the game before the game. So the hop in his step, his intensity of his movements, totally different level. That's why my eyes gravitated towards him. It's like there's nobody else to watch. This guy's different. So think about like today, tomorrow, the next day, as you work on your craft as an artist, if you up level your intensity so that kind of like in the mindset that, you got a performance tomorrow night. You got to be ready. You're trying to get a new album out. You got to get this song humming. You got a meeting with your representation team to talk about different projects. You're getting it done rather than just showing up and going through the motions, because most of us, that's what we do.
Yeah, that's good.
And Patrick Mahomes, the workouts he does in the off season are second to none. They're unique. He does things with his body, contortions and movements, and that actually show up in the games. He's not just going out, doing some cardio and throwing some balls. No, he's actually doing things that he needs to do. When there's these dudes that are really big and fast and mean and weigh about 80 more pounds than Tom does, or that Patrick does, he's got to be able to get away. He's got to be able to protect his body. Otherwise, he could be an awesome quarterback that retires at 30. So here's what I want to do. I just looked at the time. I think we could talk for 3 hours, but I want you to drop into, I want you to drop into a headspace right now where you visualize the very best thing that could happen to you in your profession. Where you're at on stage, whether it's getting some type of an award or it's performing at a certain venue in front of X thousand fans with a certain, you're the headliner. You're the headliner. I want you to give me what you got, because what you give me right now is the limit to what you can do. And my challenge is, I don't care how big it is. I don't care if you're performing in London on Wembley, stadium. I don't care where it is. I'm going to challenge you after this podcast to revisit whatever you tell us. and make it bigger. So it's more uncomfortable. It's more impossible. It's more unlikely. It's more far-fetched. But if your brain can see it, it can happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be Red Rocks. That's always been the ultimate goal.
So for
So,
people who don't know Red Rocks is in suburban Denver, in the mountains, the base of the mountains. One of the most unbelievable venues on the planet.
yeah, if not it's crazy. So, yeah, that will be that's something I definitely will accomplish in my lifetime. I look forward to being on that stage.
I expect a ticket, buddy.
Dude, come on, I'm getting you backstage. What do you mean? We're going to be eating charcuterie boards 2 hours before I go on, man. I love it.
All right.
I love it.
Is there anything you would like to add to our conversation today before we call it a day? Like your favorite,
I think,
how about this?
go ahead.
That, why don't you share with our audience, like where they can find you, where they can find your songs, title of some of your work, so people can pick you out.
Yeah. You can find me on any platform, any streaming platform under Vwillz. It's VWILLZ. My handle is at IamVwillz. There's IamVwillz.com for tickets to any upcoming shows or merchandise. And yeah, I've been dropping music consistently. I actually drop an unreleased song every week on my Patreon site, justvwillz.com. So we're almost to 52 weeks. I think we've dropped 40 songs so far, like once a week unreleased. And then on top of that, we drop music on all platforms every 3 weeks. So we're staying after it for sure. But the thing I'll leave everyone with is, man, if you want to do something in your life, you can do it. You really just have to not only believe, but you have to have the determination and work ethic too. And know that this is the best way to put it. And I read this in, what was it? Tools of Titans, I believe. One of my favorite quotes. I wonder if this was Arnold Schwarzenegger. I forget who said this, but anyway, if it's a 10-year plan, work like you have to get it done in 6 months. And I've always kind of lived by that. If you have a 10-year plan, so say, and don't get me wrong, let's say my 10-year plan is to be a billionaire in 6 months, chances of you being a billionaire aren't very high, but work as if it is. So if you have a 10-year plan, work as if the deadline is in 6 months. And then now what does your work ethic look like?
Create urgency in what your goals are.
Yes. And don't practice the definition of insanity. Always be open-minded to change and adjust. I've had to do that many, many times. And that's just, sorry, one last key. I do want to talk about that just real quickly. Most artists who don't make it, in my personal opinion, are artists who practice the definition of insanity. They are unwilling to change. They're unwilling to adjust. Artists are very stuck in our ways. We're very passionate about our art and the way we see the world. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we live in an era now where you have to be able to adjust in order to get your art heard. And if you look at that as a sacrifice, then I don't know, don't get me wrong. I don't love the fact that, like I can't just put a song on and it'll just be heard for the music, but it's just the world we live in. That I'm not going to let that change the fact that I still need to go sell out Red Rock, because eventually we'll get hurt for just being the music. But anyway, that's, I could go on a tangent, but don't practice the definition of insanity.
Thank you very much for being on Pro Mindset. And for those of you listening that want to check out my book, Pro Mindset, you can get it anywhere. You can get it on Amazon, anywhere, or you can get it on craigdoman.com. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Vwillz.